Welcome, everyone, to Friday 15 with Master B2B. My name is Brian Beck. I'm here with Andy Hoar. Master B2B is your community of e-commerce professionals and digital leaders in B2B industries. Andy, happy Friday.
Yeah, good to be here. It's going to be a steamy one in Chicago this weekend. 95,
Wow.
105 heat index. Yeah, we're gonna get some heat here. So
I was up in Seattle all week and it was not 95. It was beautiful. It was like 70 and sunny. Yes.
rain? No rain?
No rain. Sunny
Oh,
Seattle,
wow.
man. Summer's great up there. Beautiful, beautiful. So we'll talk a little more about that today. We are talking about AI again on Friday 15. And of course, there's so much news happening about Friday 15. It's easy to find our breaking news around this as well. So, Andy, did you see this? Amazon AI CEO AI note is troubling the staff. He said, this is Andy Jassy, as we roll out more generative AI agents, it should change the way our work is done. We will need fewer people doing some of the jobs that are being done today and more people doing other types of jobs. It's hard to know exactly where this nets out over time, but in the next few years, we expect that this will reduce our total corporate workforce as we get efficiency gains from using AI extensively. What are your reactions, Andy? What do you think?
Wow. We could spend a whole discussion Friday 15 on this and probably still run long.
Yep.
Okay, it's a couple of schools of thought. One is that this is PR from Amazon, where they're just trying to whip the workforce into shape. There's probably
Right.
some truth to that. There's also this, humble bragging going on about how we're going to make the whole world a better place with AI and we're going to be cutting edge. There's some of that. So that's one school of thought. The other school of thought is that he's saying the quiet part out loud, and that, notice he says corporate workforce. I mean, who would have ever thought
Right.
that the safer job at Amazon might be the delivery driver versus the AI software engineer who's going to be displaced apparently by AI
Right.
agents? To that
Right.
point, I've talked to companies that are now listing AI agents as members of the org chart.
Right.
So, I think there's clearly a fundamental transformation going on here. But the big headline, I think, about all this and all these stories about, there's a bunch of stuff in the Wall Street Journal about companies that are doing more with less. I
Yep.
think we are now starting to see a fundamental break between assuming growth means hiring people.
Mhm.
Historically, back when we were, working in factories, if you wanted more production, you hired more people. That's the way it worked. It could be the case now that if you want more sales, more revenue, and especially more profit, it's entirely possible you'll look at replacing what humans are doing, not humans per se, but humans are doing their tasks,
Yeah.
handing those tasks off to an AI agent, and actually, in a way, growing with automation with AI versus humans. That could be, we could start seeing that break now. At least that appears to be what's going on.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I read a story this week too, where the CEO of NVIDIA was quoted. He said that people shouldn't be afraid of losing their jobs to AI. They should be afraid of losing their jobs to people that use AI. So,
Until what's the
right?
next part of that, which is, and then those people who are using AI are eventually going to be replaced by the AI because the AI is going
Yeah.
to learn their job and do it better, faster, more completely,
Yeah.
etc. Now, I mean, I say that jokingly, but that's a great statement about the next few years. It's not a great statement for the next decade or two.
Yeah, no question. Well, and today, Andy, we're talking about AI. Is Gen AI taking over SEO? So SEO meaning search engine optimization. So we talked about this last week, Andy, in part one of our kind of series, little mini series here. For many years, marketers have relied on search engine optimization as a key way to drive traffic and relevancy going into Google and searching. In fact, our community is expecting this to happen very quickly. Less than a year, 76% of our community in our poll last week said that generative search optimization will become more important in driving traffic versus traditional search engine optimization in less than a year. That's incredible. That's incredible, Andy, right? The speed at which people expect this to happen. But let's share an example of what exactly are we talking about? And Andy, you pulled some. So those of you who are listening, we'll describe this for you. But here on the screen, we're showing a Google search. Tell us about this.
Yeah, I thought I'd say let's show an example of this. This is maybe an SMB. It's a small, like an installer or something like that. It's not a big corporation, but it's a prosumer, let's say, and it's somebody who's looking for the best cordless screwdriver under $100. Well, typically you go to, say, Google, and you would type that in, and what you can see on the screen is you're shown basically your merchandise too. You're shown a bunch of pictures of cordless screwdrivers. You're shown sponsored stories, which is where obviously Google makes its money. 8 best electrical screwdrivers, 25 best cordless screwdrivers. In other words, I'm given options, not answers. Now, in contrast, throw it in the ChatGPT. What do you get? Well, this is 2 screens side to side, and you can see right away it says here are the top cordless screwdrivers under $100. It lists 3 of them. It gives the pros, the cons. It tells you why. It even cites why it came to that conclusion. It gives you a bonus pick. A lot of value added here, and then it shows you on the if you scroll down, it shows you 3 options, and it says at the bottom, ChatGPT chooses products independently. There's also maybe a dig at Google, like, well, is Google just showing you the stuff that people paid for?
Yeah.
And then it concludes with a little table that says which one's right for you. And it says there's the use case, which I think is where this is all headed. Heavy DIY and workshop use, best options, the Milwaukee M12, and it gives you the reason for it. And then final tips. It says choose Milwaukee for serious power and durability, go with Works for budget friendly. Basically, it gave me answers, not options. And I think that's where the shift is taking place. And so the question becomes, if you're Milwaukee, if you're Skill, if you're, these different companies that are trying to compete for the buy box, basically, how do you get into ChatGPT so you get mentioned there? And that's where this is where the SEO, the first one with Google was an SEO game. This one is what's either GEO or AEO game, but how do you get in there?
That's the topic we're going to talk about. And last week we highlighted emerging GEO, generative engine optimization best practices. And we talked about a variety of different things. Ultimately, all this AI is what it's doing is because it's delivering answers, it is reducing the number of clicks. It's providing answers up front. And a lot of this optimization, the general theme we see here is it ties into something called expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And there's a term that's emerged for this, and just EAT, right? Again, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness now being more important than ever. So when you think about, Andy, what does that mean? Why is it so important? Well, it's because generative AI engines are not just matching keywords, they're making judgments about the credibility. You just showed that, and the relevance based on a deeper semantic understanding. It's about the answers. So attribution is about, getting yourself mentioned, is about authority. You want to be cited as an expert, your reputation over time. So the engines are looking not just at what's currently today happening, but have you been an authority over time that builds your visibility? Content without authority gets ignored by these engines. Misinformation gets penalized. I mean, there's a lot of different elements here. What's your take on that, Andy?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to game it. I mean, there'll be ways to do this. I'm sure people will sell the ability to get you into the answer engines or the generative engines, whatever. But I think it's a much higher, steeper hill to climb. It used to be you could just, we said last week, keyword density, blanket the site with, cordless screwdriver on $100, just put it all over the place, right? And the crawlers will pick it up, and you can sponsor by paying your way into it. It's not clear how you can buy your way into the consideration set through an answer engine. And it's going to have to be done with content and specifically use cases. I think we talked a little bit about this last week. This is going to be the game. If you're creating content, I focus less on building a website, and I focus more on creating a library of content that is put out there in all sorts of forms: video, text, testimonials from customers, what have you, that demonstrates how you work. That will give you some authority. I think give you higher EAT here, but it's not going to be, there's no simple way to do this. And you mentioned on the last slide that over time, you can't just pop up, buy the words and appear. It's going to be, you're going to have to establish this over time, which means a consistent, persistent presence.
Yeah, and one of the things too, Andy, so that's, yes, tying to content. Content is now truly becoming king. And part of what we would do in the past, and I've done SEO for 20 years as as an e-com executive. We would back in the day, we would look for authoritative, sites to cite us, like other websites. And the same thing actually is true now with GEO. In fact, when I asked ChatGPT, hey, why is this so important? What are some of the authoritative sites where you go and get mentions? Because these engines will look at where you're talked about, right? And so the most authoritative sources fall into a number of categories: academic and research institutions, government agencies, established news sources, industry authorities, trade associations, trade publications, encyclopedias, organizational websites, peer review journals, statistical sources like Pew Research or the U.S. Census Bureau or Statista. I mean, these are all places that if you're mentioned in these places as an authority in whatever you do, they will help you to show up higher in the generative engines. This was true with SEO, but I think it's even more true now. I think it's fascinating. So, sort of the link building and the context. If you are publishing things that's real research, original research, use cases, people using your products in a way that's industry associations linking to you. I mean, you have to look at these things more seriously now, and it's not just about keyword stuffing anymore. Any thoughts, Andy?
Well, one thing I didn't see on that list was ratings. And I
Yeah,
wonder what the next evolution of ratings is going to look like, because there are a lot of sites that just bank on that. But I think that's been undermined to some extent. We've all heard stories about fake ratings on Amazon, etc.
right,
I think
right.
those are still powerful. Plus, they also do show something over time, and there's some quality about the quantity of all of them.
Hmm.
But it is interesting that that's not necessarily considered an authoritative source. And by the way, just bring into question, what's Amazon going to do? Is Amazon going to be more like Google, because they do a lot of sponsored stuff, or they're going to be more like ChatGPT, and they've got an investment interest in Perplexity and the Claude stuff. So I think it's going to be interesting to see. Amazon right now feels more like Google.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
but the difference is Google's entire revenue model is based on this. Amazon's not. Amazon
Right.
can move over to a different model and use AWS to subsidize it. Google can't afford to do that.
Yeah, and the big difference with Amazon is that it's a closed ecosystem and it's about product sales. So ultimately, the questions that are asked there, the answers that are provided, are more likely to lead to a transaction. Which I think that as you look at things like Rufus, their AI, contextual answering tool, that's providing product recommendations, right? Um, I think there's going to be some monetization. It's going to be easier for Amazon to do that, with kind of their sponsored, products and their sponsored ad listings within the AI. So you might ask, yeah, go ahead.
But Amazon is going to have to reestablish its credibility, because I think it's lost some of that. I think there are people who think that Rufus even is making recommendations based on pay for play arrangements. And
Yeah.
so remember they had the problem with ratings when that first came out, ratings and reviews, that was solid. That drifted into a bit of a racket. And I think they got to watch out that Rufus doesn't become, that version 2.0 where, oh, sure, I'm Rufus, I'm recommending the best thing. But by the way, these guys are all paying me for placement. I mean, this is what they're going to have to worry about. That's why I said they're going to have to choose one model
Yeah.
or the other. Are they more like the Google sponsored model, or are they more like the ChatGPT ostensibly, free and objective? I don't know.
That's going to be interesting to see. I do think that Amazon has an advantage because of when it comes to product commerce, because they understand they have a lot of customer reviews. And by the way, Andy, my opinion on that is that customer reviews will emerge as one of the most authoritative sources here,
If they're
particularly.
clean and not bought
Well, I
by,
know, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. But there's that understanding how customers are using. You talk about use cases, how customers are using products. Well, that is what Amazon has in its product reviews, largely.
that's what it's going to have to be. I think it's going to be a specific. It can't just be good, great, or even like a detailed, oh, here's why I like it. It's going to have to be about a use case. Here's how I used it. Here's how it made a difference. Here's why I recommend it. And there's been a lot of discussion that everything is going to move away from sort of emotional, personal, subjective opinion to more objective stuff. Where it's like, hey, I tried 6 different versions. 4 of them did this, 2 of them did that. This one did all of them. And here's the way in which I used it. That will be a check in terms of a rating and review, not just good. It's great. I love it. That's not going to work anymore.
Yeah, the other thing on Amazon, of course, people can submit, visual reviews as well, sort of images, videos, things like that. So I think using AI, there's all kinds of applications there as well. So if you're a practitioner, what do you do with this? How do you build this authority, right? What practical steps can you take? So of course, I asked ChatGPT because that's what I do these days. And this is, I'll share a couple things about what ChatGPT told me. One is it's showcasing real world expertise, real original content, citing credentials, publish that, citing the authority in whatever the category is. So not only looking to get quoted in some of these authoritative places, but also citing them as references, building a strong digital footprint, getting mentions on reputable third-party sites, maintain a structured and high-quality content hub on your website, demonstrate trustworthiness, clear attribution, dates, sources, contact information, be transparent, basically. Leveraging LinkedIn thought leadership, which is something we do a lot, was also mentioned, and then getting cited by other trusted sources, right? So a lot of this is about building your reputation, really, and by being an honest, transparent player in your industry.
Well, this is going to be particularly interesting because user-generated content. How in the world is ChatGPT going to figure out what's real and what's not? And I'll give you an example. Remember, in the last maybe 10 years or so, we started to see this emergence of all of these kind of, I hate to use the term, but fake news sites where they're like, comparison
Right.
news or
Oh yeah, of course.
yeah, which are masquerading as actual journalist-driven news sites, which is just some dude's opinion, and he put the word news next to it. So how is ChatGPT going to figure that one out? Now, I actually have some faith that it will. It'll figure out by reading the website whether it's a real site or not, or if it's just a bunch of guys who just, basically there's their opinion, but they're couching it as news.
Right.
So authoritative sources, that's why I think it's going to be good to have gotten in early here, to be an established news site, a trustworthy, credible source. Like I said, the Wall Street Journal, it's been around for 100 years. Unless they lose their reputation, it will always have kind of a brand associated. So I wonder if you'll be able to start a news site or a credible site and actually get picked up by these, AEO, GEO engines or not, or whether it's going to take a year or two for people to establish that you actually are legit. I don't know.
Well, one thing's for sure, there's a lot of agencies and people trying to figure this stuff out using AI, and I'm going to bet there's services that will emerge that will help companies to position themselves. This is the next
credibility in a box. That's right.
Yeah, right. Like, how do you do this, right? So there's a whole industry that's going to emerge around this. And we had Stacy Hanks, VP of Digital Commerce from SureWorks, weigh in on our LinkedIn poll this week, and on this topic. And she said on Amazon, when we were talking about Amazon, we have the second best selling product in a very specific category. And my content manager and I went shopping with Rufus, that's the Amazon search engine today, and our product never came up. We learned what Amazon prioritizes as attributes that make the products the best. So you can be damn sure we'll be optimizing for this. So what Stacy did is she went and she looked at, she went and looked at the products that were showing up and some of the things that they were doing, and then adopted some of the techniques that they were using. And a lot of it had to do with, content and reviews and things like that. But it was fascinating to, this is not just a Google or ChatGPT thing. This is an Amazon thing as well. So fascinating to see that. You look cynical.
Well, I just think, though, it's going to be interesting. I think the game is going to be about depth and breadth of content related to use cases. But I'm also reminded that ChatGPT could create a lot of this content.
Sure.
Hey, I'm a marketing manager. I need to, that quote was screwdriver, give me the top 100 use cases and give me examples of how it would work, and then publish a blog on LinkedIn with a customer quote about each one of those use cases.
Yep.
So it's going to be a bit of, chasing the rabbit here to figure out what's real and what's not. But I do think,
yeah, go ahead. Finish
no,
your thought.
I think there's going to have to be authoritative sources that are deciding whether these use cases are real or not. And I don't know where that's going to come from, but it might come from actual users who pass judgment on those and say, that's BS.
Andy, just because AI creates it doesn't mean it's not real content. I mean,
no, it's true.
You know what I'm saying? Like if it's a case study, it's a legitimate case study. If it's just because AI created it, okay, that's where we're going to be. That's where we already are, quite frankly.
There's no referee in this game, and that's what's going to be interesting.
I hear you, but that's why this EAT is so important. All right, we're over Friday 20. We got to get to some announcements here, guys. We could talk forever on this fascinating topic. Want to remind everyone that Master B2B Nexus is now available. This is your personal digital lifeline, providing digital expert advice exclusively for B2B e-commerce executives. And this is really it's a risk eliminator. It helps to get you answers to your questions quickly. It's an exclusive group, and we invite you to check it out. It's for practitioners. It is a paid service. Go to our website, Master B2B, and click on Nexus. Also, our forum, which continues to thrive and grow every day. We are excited to invite you, if you're a practitioner, executive at a distributor or manufacturer, to join us there. There is no cost. Go to masterb2b.com and click on forum, and you can share and network right there in our website. And finally, want to remind everyone that our Friday 15 is available via podcast on your favorite podcast service, also YouTube and on our website. So please go ahead and check us out there. And please give us a review, a good one. So anyway, any last questions, Andy, as we go past Friday 20? No. Any last questions? No. Oh, man, you're getting good at this. All right, folks, we will see you next week on our next Friday 15. Thanks for tuning in.